Hi Libra, welcome to your end of October 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. I'm using the well-known tarot deck this month because it's so gothic and scorpionic as the sun moves from your sign of Libra to Scorpio. Oh, what is it going to be this year? Is it going to be the 23rd? I'm not sure, something around there. And then there's going to be a new moon in Scorpio on the 27th, and this is falling in your 12th house. I mean, not your 12th house, your second house. Even better in terms of making money, at least. Because maybe you're going to be finding a new income stream. Could have like great financial consequences. I hope that is just a car going by because it's been so quiet. And that would be funny if all of a sudden it starts making noise. I'll pick an additional card for the outcome. Because of the nature of the Five of Wands, I always do. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's see what's going on. Sorry for the creaking chair. Sometimes it really creaks. The heart of the matter is the Son of Swords, which is the Knight of Swords. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes they don't really emphasize. I was just looking at a book review about a tarot book, and I'm probably going to get this at some point. And one of the people said that they really liked it because it made the minor arcana come alive in terms of, and they gave the example of the different suits being connected to the different elements. And I know that the knights relate to fire energy. So when you have the Knight of Swords, you have an energy of fire plus air. And your air being Libra, so you're kind of that coolly intellectual kind of an energy. And fire coming into it can be somebody who has the sun in like Libra and has the moon in Sagittarius or something, where they have that combination of that fiery spirit and emotional self, and then they have that kind of a cool, they have a cool head, or cool, you know, whatever you want to call it. And the point of all of this is that this could be somebody that you're dealing with in your life. This may not be you, but somebody else that has, you know, a real passion about their ideas. So this card, I know it connects with, I know it connects with lawyers. And I would say especially like activist lawyers or people who are pushing their ideas very passionately. I believe it can also deal with writers and I think even teachers. I'm not 100% on that. But the point is that if this is a person other than you, as a Libra, you might be even offended by such a person because they're very outspoken, and that could be part of the conflict. I could even see like a coworker. However, it is entirely possible that this is something that has kind of awakened within yourself. Libra tends to be very concerned with keeping the peace, keeping harmony around him or her, and something may be provoking you to kind of speak your mind. In the past position, we have the Daughter of Cups, which is the Page of Cups, and this suggests a certain naivete. Don't you love this? The color in this of the reflection, I just think that's beautiful. That's another reason I love these cards. So you may have, for instance, allowed yourself to believe something at work that wasn't true. Maybe you believe somebody's promises and now you're kicking yourself and saying, how could I be so dumb? Did I believe this? Because you wanted to trust somebody. And, you know, whether this is a coworker who is now trying to kind of like outmaneuver you, or if it's a situation where you're unsatisfied with the kind of progress that you're making. Like maybe you feel like you've done the work and you're not getting the financial benefits or the status. You're working in the entry level type of job, but they promised you after 6 months that you would automatically get promoted and you haven't, and you're getting disillusioned by it. The Daughter of Cups suggests that perhaps you were not really paying attention to some of the signs that this was going to happen, that there were signs that this was not going to be, that this was more of a dead-end job, you know. And in relationships, same thing. If you're with somebody and there feels like there's conflict and you are kind of scratching your head, you may have kind of glossed over certain things. The higher message is the Seven of Pentacles, and I got this card for another sign, and I was remarking upon how this particular deck, although it is not faithful to Rider Waite, it does have certain cards that to me just hit the mark when it comes to really depicting what the card represents. Some of them not so much. Some of them I still can't figure out what they mean. But the Seven of Pentacles is about investing energy in something and seeing the growth, and you see the ascension here. So as a spiritual message, it's saying that I think it's saying that it's natural, it's normal to want to see growth when you invest in something, whether it's financially or in your relationship. You want to see that what you're putting time and effort into is becoming something more than it was. You don't want to just kind of be feeling like you're spinning your wheels a lot. And that's kind of like what people feel sometimes when they're in these relationships that are not really working out. They feel like they're spinning their wheels, they're not really getting anywhere. And if you're, for instance, looking for a serious relationship, maybe you're looking to get married someday, or you're looking, you know, I realize that people are listening, and some people may be retired and they're like, I don't want to get married. I've been there and done that. I'm a widower. In that case, you may be looking for something that you can, a permanent relationship that you can call your own, that you don't have to feel like you're perpetually dating, anything like that. What crosses you is represented by the Six of Wands. And this is a card related to, especially with career matters, that sense of, I think, lack of recognition in the challenge position. In the upright position, this can be like taking your bow and feeling like you're being seen as successful and talented, and for some reason this is not how you feel right now. And by the way, I mean, monetary enhancement or raises they really do give employees the feeling that they're valued employees. And if you don't get that, you're going to feel the opposite of that. You're going to feel like expendable and like they don't really care if they retain you. So it's not just about, wow, I'm getting more money each week. It's also that feeling on the emotional level that you are really being rewarded for your contribution. And so that is possibly what is bothering you. And if that's the case, then you have every right to feel that way, and you shouldn't try to minimize it and act like, oh, it's no big deal, I don't really care. It's important to pay attention to how you feel in life. And if you feel a certain way, to be able to understand that you're feeling that way for a reason, that's not just random. And in relationships, if you're with somebody who's always criticizing you, maybe the Knight of Swords is very blunt and they're insensitive, and they may say, but I'm just telling the truth about this situation, like that's supposed to make you feel better. But they don't realize that A, you might not want to change, and B, the way that they're talking to you is very disrespectfully. Then that's another thing you have to really gauge, is whether or not this is the kind of person that you want to invest more energy into. What's coming in is the Son of Pentacles, which relates to the Knight of Pentacles, and it's a card of really working doggedly, persistently. Okay, I'll say that. It's probably a synonym, I guess. And that means that you have a goal in mind. So you might say, well, I don't like the situation I'm in, but I'm going to give it 6 more months and I'm going to see what happens. Maybe I expected things too soon. Even if they promised it, perhaps they were a little bit, what do you call it? Like being too optimistic, and I'm still going to get that promotion or something like that. But you give yourself a certain amount of time, and maybe you say to yourself, I'm going to save as much money as I can. For 6 months, I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm just going to work and come home so that I have extra money in case I do need to leave. And, 6 months is really not that long. A lot of people think, oh my God, 6 months. But it really isn't in the grand scheme of things. And it also can build up your discipline in the sense where you can do a good job even if you feel like you're not being treated fairly or treated. This isn't really about fairness. I would say this is more about proper recognition and appreciation, which also translates to making more money if you feel like you've deserved it. But you're going to be doing this for a set amount of time, and then you're going to move on with your life if you feel like there's nothing coming for you. I'm just saying that could be an example of how you play that. And in personal relationships, this may mean, that you just throw yourself into your work and that you don't date somebody who is not treating you properly. The outcome is the Five of Wands, and then I picked an additional card. I really didn't have to, because this could be like you jumping into the fray and like almost embracing the competition. If the Knight of Swords is a coworker who you feel is being too aggressive and competitive, then you just like competing right back with this person, against this person. Not in a mean way, but just in a very self-assertive way that you don't allow another person to kind of intimidate you because they're being so aggressive. And you just kind of like, hey, I'm going to bring my best stuff to the table. I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to fold right now because somebody else is trying to get me to. And I did pick an additional card just because, the Five of Wands sometimes can be conflict. I mean, it can be that there's conflict in the workplace because you're not going anywhere, and there might be other people who are intimidated by you, and so they're not, maybe they're trying to push you out, and you're not going to go quietly. You're going to go on your own timetable. And so the card I got as a clarification is the Magician. And this is the card of co-creating your reality. So I think that the average Libra person can really appreciate this because you're a cardinal sign. And cardinal signs are, to me, the most overtly capable of embracing the law of attraction and what it truly represents to me, which is that we're co-creators. The reason that this is an important aspect of it is that it's not just about thinking good thoughts and then sitting back and watching the riches drop in your lap, but it's like it's really a very active philosophy as far as I'm concerned, where you feel like you have permission to follow your bliss. And even, believe it or not, make a living doing so. And I believe that cardinal signs like Libra take action as a force of habit. That you tend to do things, like you don't just sit there and talk about it, you tend to like actually take action. And I feel like cardinal signs sometimes are the most successful in a very kind of, very quickly, in a quick sort of a way, a rapid sort of way, because they understand the power of action. That it's not enough just to talk about something, you have to actually put it into motion. And so what I'm saying here, and this is also a card of autonomy, now you rule the house of partnership. So for you to be autonomous and not lean on somebody else, that might be a new idea for you, but one you should definitely play around with, because although it's great to get along with others and be able to collaborate and things like that, when you have a vision that you'd like to bring into fruition, you need to do it, and you can't wait for other people to get on board. And there may be something that maybe there's a business that you want to start or something along those lines. You may decide to, keep your day job that you're not like completely thrilled with and work on that on the side, work on what you really want to do. And that will also give you the strength to tolerate the things that you feel make working where you are not that appealing to you anymore, if that's the case. So it's very interesting. I love the Magician card. It's one of my favorite cards because it's about self-reliance. It's about autonomy. And I think that is such an important thing. It's like, I don't drive a car. I've never had a driver's license, and I have no desire to drive. I've driven, in driver's ed and in private driver's instruction, but I've never actually driven, on my own. And I ride a bicycle. And even as an adult, a lot of adults these days don't necessarily drive. And sometimes I see people waiting for the bus, going home from work, coming home from shopping, and I'm riding my bike past them. And I feel so autonomous. I feel like I know how it feels to wait for a bus. And I still wait for buses now and then when I have to go certain places. But I don't like that feeling because I feel out of control. I feel like I can't determine when I go and, when I get there. It's like I'm at somebody else's mercy, at the mercy of somebody else. So I'm sure drivers of cars feel the same autonomy. But I even feel more autonomy than they do because I don't have to pay for parking. I don't have to have like a special parking space. And that feeling of autonomy is really a wonderful feeling. If you have this desire to strike out on your own, but you feel that you've invested a lot into something, and that Seven of Pentacles, it could be you feel like you have to hang in there because you invested time into something. And I always, when I see the Seven of Pentacles, to me it's on the early end of things, where it's like you haven't been there for 5 years, but you've been there for 6 months, and maybe you even had to get training, or maybe you have a degree in whatever this thing is, and you kind of like are, something about it rubs you the wrong way. Maybe it's too like inharmonious, the atmosphere, like with the Knight of Swords. It's like people are just really rude, and that's something that a Libra, you know, has a hard time with, rude people. So whatever it means to you is that when you know what you want, you know that you don't need to invest in something endlessly to prove that you made the right decision to get that degree. Because you might say to yourself, you know, now that I have actually been in the real world and I've seen what this profession is, let's say it's being a lawyer. And yeah, maybe that's, I mean, like I said, the Knight of Swords could be the legal profession, and you thought that was what you wanted, and as soon as you became a lawyer, you hated it. And maybe you think, oh, but my parents, oh my God, they spent all this money so I could go to law school, or I took out all these loans, what am I going to do about that? Well, you know, those are definite things that you'll have to manage, but it's better than just keep going and investing time and effort into something that you really don't want to do. So that's what the Magician is about. I think it's ultimately, the Magician is really about trusting your instincts to know what you want to do enough to almost like be an island unto yourself, where you are promoting what you want. That's why the Magician is card number 1, is because it's dealing with the self. It's not taking into consideration other people, what their opinions are of what you're choosing, but doing it for yourself. So anyway, I hope that you received something from this, Libra. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.